Hello, welcome to the month of Tevet. We're going to get started today by lighting a couple of candles. This one is for the Shekhinah, the indwelling presence. We're in the 8th day of Hanukkah, which is the day of actual dedication. The 7 days up till now have been preparing us for that dedication, and now we are in the 8th day, which says today's the day to celebrate. And so today we're going to do some readings, and we're going to start with some Nordic runes. And then we're going to add in some of these beautiful stones. And then we're going to maybe pull a card and add some Hebrunes to that. So let's just start out with, we're going to do 3 today. We're going to start out with 3 Nordic runes. And these are the 3 that want to come out. And you get to choose. We have Ansuz. We have Sowilo, and we have Dagaz. Those are the 3 runes today, and we're going to choose a stone to go with each of them. Ansuz, I'm going to go with the blue agate. Sowilo, we're going to use the Tiger's Eye. And for Dagaz, I'm going to pick the Mookite Jasper. So those are your 3 runes and stones today. Take a moment to see which one calls to you. I'll give you a little bit of a hint. Ansuz is about the divine, but also about speech. Sowilo is about the sun, or source. And Dagaz is about breakthrough. It's about daylight and breakthrough. So take a minute to choose which one you'd like to follow into your reading, and I will see you there. Okay, for those of you who chose the rune Ansuz, this is what it looks like. It is the rune that corresponds to the divine. So a god, generally the god Odin in the Norse mythology, who is the chief god or the chieftain, the head god. Its associations with the mind, so thought, and also voice. The voice is within, like in one's intuition, or the voice of the divine within, maybe one's higher self speaking. Signals and signs that might come to you, inspiration that you might be seeing in the world or feeling inside yourself, and true vision and self-knowledge. So this rune has to do with just hearing your inner voice. And the stone that we've affiliated with it is this blue agate. I wish you could see it better in this. It's this dark, beautiful blue. There's a little sparkle in it. And it is the color that corresponds to the chakra, which goes with the throat. So it's the throat chakra because it is about voice and speaking one's truth. So those are our beginnings. We're going to set those right over here, off to the side. And we're going to pick out one of the Mythologia Finnica tarot cards today and see which one wants to talk to us. What is our higher self, our divine, wanting to communicate today? There it is. I'm going to take the one that's on the top here. I love that the colors go with it so well. This is the Pike of Tuonela, and I will tell you about it. So the Pike of Tuonela corresponds loosely to the Ten of Cups in traditional tarot. And so it's about having a challenge, but a breakthrough, a success, some sort of victory of the highest consciousness triumphing over the subconscious. And intuition, again, fulfillment. So it does have to do with Ansuz here, in that it is about one's intuition. And the story goes that Ilmarinen had proposed to the maid of Pohjola, and her mother Louhi had given him tasks to prove his worthiness. And he had already done several of the tasks, and the final test was that he had to catch the great pike of Tuonela. And Tuonela had this black river, and inside of it lived a giant pike. And he had to capture it without using any net of any sort. And so the maid of Pohjola had begun to really like Ilmarinen, so she decided to help him, and she suggested that he forge this golden fiery eagle. So he was a great smith and was able to manufacture anything from basically nothing. So he created this giant fire eagle that he sent to capture the pike of Tuonela. And the eagle was huge, and so was the pike. So they fought until the death, but the eagle won finally by slipping its talons through the pike and lifting it out of the water, ripping open its stomach. And since it liked the taste of it so much, it ate the fish. And even though Ilmarinen scolded it, it still took off with the fish, but left the head. So then Ilmarinen was able to take the head of the pike to the mistress Louhi, where he could present it, saying, "Look, I've done your task." And she could continue to use that head of the pike as a throne in her kingdom. So it's about breaking through. It's interesting because it is about breaking through and listening to one's intuition, about overcoming these obstacles that have been presented to him, and creating with the powers that he had the thing that would help him in his task. So it's about being on the brink of a great breakthrough, and also going into the subconscious, that dark water that is Tuonela, that underworld sort of place, and pulling something out of it for yourself, pulling out some great knowledge that will serve you to get what it is you desire. And the reward, I mean, if you want to link it to the Ten of Cups, it's about that great prize that he had hoped for, which was his bride at that time. So that's what our card is about today, this capturing of the pike. And now I'd like to pull out some Hebrunes to read about this further. What is it that we are working for to capture in our subconscious? What is it that we are discovering under the surface that needs to be brought to the forefront? And we're going to pull out 3 today. And I'm going to just toss them down and see what order they show up in. Okay. We got the Gimel, the Resh, and the Kuf. And the way I'm going to read these today is, the first one is what is our current situation? The second one, what is our challenge? And the third, what is the outcome or the consequences based on this situation? So the first letter we have is the Gimel, and the Gimel is a foot or a camel walking forward, and it is about forward momentum, moving forward from whatever it is that we've had happening recently, trying to move forward into our situation. And the Gimel is, it rules over the planet Jupiter in the sky, and so it has to do with justice, or I'm going to say Jupiter in Hebrew is the word tzedek, which means justice, and so we're trying to move forward towards something that is righteous or good at some level. It's about running toward justice. It has a binary foundation continuum somewhere between peace and evil, which is to say wholeness and brokenness. So somewhere along that continuum we are in this current situation. We're trying to move forward. We're falling somewhere between wholeness and brokenness, and we're trying to create harmony. It corresponds in my interpretation to the tarot card of the Chariot. So yeah, it's about forward movement, trying to get through and move toward something that we are trying to achieve. And like Ilmarinen, whose his desire was to complete the tasks and to listen to his intuition. It's the number 3 in Gematria, so it corresponds to this triangle, this harmony, this stability or integration of 3 things: air, fire, and water, the elements of creation. It is this binary foundation of, like I said, transformation of peace to evil, and it makes me think of the garden, Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, where we had the opportunity to choose life, and yet in that situation chose to know what was right and wrong. So we chose the tree of knowledge rather than the tree of life, and that is the reason why the first humans were sent out from the garden. So there's been some choice that happened recently, perhaps, that has led you on this journey as you move forward. Yeah, I connect it to the patriarch Yaakov because he ran from his brother Esau when he stole the birthright and stole the blessing. And he ran away to his uncle Laban. And he also, on the way, had this dream where he saw the angels running and returning up and down the ladder. So I think of Gimel as associated with Yaakov, who is one of the patriarchs, and he's a flawed character. You know, he's had some issues. So whatever it is you're running from or running to, that seems to be the current situation. And our challenge right now in this is the letter Resh. Resh means head, and that's interesting because we have the head of the pike that ends up as the throne of Lohi once that pike is taken from the river of Tuonela. So it's something that's a challenge is this head, something that's a new beginning, perhaps. Resh begins the word Rosh, which means beginning, like Rosh Hashanah or Rosh Chodesh, which we just went through here with the new month coming in. And so it has to do with a new beginning, some seed that's being planted. So there is that binary of seed and barrenness, and where do we fall between having planted a seed? And we are in this muddy time of year where seeds are planted, they're under the ground, but we don't see anything growing yet. We don't see the sprouts coming up. So that's the challenge right now. The challenge may be waiting to see what happens. We also have the new year coming up in the secular calendar. And so a lot of changes, a lot of newness coming in. But Rosh can also be seen as a head that is bowed. Like there's a little humility here. So good to walk through whatever the new thing is with a bit of humility. It rules over the planet Mercury. And Mercury is all about communication. So as we go through this challenging time of this new beginning, it's really important to communicate effectively. That's the thing to keep in mind, is communication right now. And even if things are challenging in this new beginning, remember to speak what's true. Remember to speak your truth, use your voice, and communicate effectively. And also use your head. I mean, think, but, don't get too wrapped up in your thoughts that you miss the underlying intuition. Listen to your intuition as well, which doesn't necessarily reside in the head. Yeah, it has to do with new beginnings, and it seems like that is the challenge here. What is the seed that you've planted that we don't see growing yet, that is hopefully going to come to fruition, but that waiting is challenging. That waiting is quite challenging as we move forward. And the outcome is the letter Kuf. And Kuf is a very complicated letter in that it has to do with both the word kadosh, which means holiness or designated for service to the divine, and klipa, which means the shards or the shells of the broken vessels. So again, it has to do with brokenness, wholeness and brokenness here. But the outcome could be either something incredibly holy or something that is broken. And ideally, it sets up this sort of conflict between the holiness of the divine and one's own animal nature. And I say that because Kuf also corresponds to the word Kof, which means monkey. And the monkey has to do with our own animal nature, that which just seeks after pleasure and indulgence without really considering how other people are being affected or impacted by it. So the outcome here could be something incredibly holy, or it could be something incredibly sharp or pleasure-seeking. And it's up to you. I mean, that's what it comes down to, is it's up to you what you want this to turn out to be. If you're able to focus and really focus on your task and use the resources that you have at hand, if you can use your voice effectively with, again, the planet Mercury about communicating, and that's complicated because we're going into a Mercury retrograde right now, I believe. So things might seem a little off, things might seem a little backwards. But we do have the ability to make choices in our situation. We have the ability to make what we need to make in order to complete our task. And it seems to me what this is saying is, if you focus and move forward, use your head, listen to your intuition, communicate effectively, you can come out with an outcome that is kodesh, holy. And if you don't tend your seeds, and if you don't really focus on your task at hand, then you might end up with brokenness. Maybe you'll end up with the head of the pike, which is sufficient. It's maybe not ideal. Maybe you didn't get the whole fish, but you at least got the head of it. And sometimes we have to accept what's coming for us, what's coming at us in our situation. And I think that is what I'm seeing here today. That's what I'm seeing in your reading, is that we've got this idea of communication, this idea of intuition, listening to one's inner voice, but also using one's own voice with their throat chakra to communicate effectively, that we're moving forward, that we have planted a seed, and that's our challenge, is waiting for it to come to fruition, and that we have the potential for holiness in this as we struggle to capture the pike of Tuonela and come with at least the head to the person who's assigned us this task. And if we are able to do that with heart and with listening to our intuition, then it will give us an outcome that is holy and divine. And so for those of you who chose Ansuz today, this has been your reading. If you liked it, please subscribe and hit like button, and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Okay, for those of you who chose the rune Sowilo, this rune corresponds to the sun. So it has to do with source energy, all those things that are good and bright and, basically sunny in the world. It's about guidance that is good and wholeness and awareness, hopes and goals being achieved, individual victory and honor. Sowilo is a very bright rune in the Nordic runes. And with that, I've chosen the Tiger's Eye because it is the golden stone that I have here that corresponds to the solar plexus. Solar, of course, being the sun, and that center part, that source, that core energy. And this is the Tiger's Eye. So we're going to set that right up here in the upper left nearby, and we're going to pull out one card from the Kalevala deck to see what it is that will help clarify our situation today. There it is. So the card that we have today is the Kalevala of Väinämöinen. Still trying to learn how to pronounce these names. Väinämöinen. And I will tell you about that story. So the Kalevala of Väinämöinen has to do loosely with the Three of Cups in traditional tarot. In traditional tarot, the Three of Cups is a really happy, joyous card. And I would say that this also sort of fits into that. It is about radiance, so very, very appropriate for the Sowilo rune about sun, creativity, inspiration, being sense of community and harmony and conformity with all creation, celebration, communication at the level of the heart, and well of spiritual wealth. So, but you'll see here, the Kalevala of Väinämöinen is about, it doesn't look as pretty as it sounds. It is an instrument, and it is made from the jaw of a pike. So when Väinämöinen, Ilmarinen, and Lemminkainen were on their way to Pohjola to retrieve the Sampo, which is a whole other story, they struck aground, which they thought we were on a rock, but it turns out it was a giant monstrous fish. And they tried to slay it, but they fell overboard. And as I say, Lemminkainen is kind of a brash character. He tried to slay it, fell overboard. Ilmarinen had to save him, and then eventually Väinämöinen was able to take out his sword and plunge it into the pike and lift it up. He was able to harvest the flesh of the pike, and then they used the jaw to create this instrument, which is the Kalevala of Väinämöinen. And it's this amazing instrument that when he played it, it made everybody, all the animals and all the people, everybody in the land came to hear it because it was so beautiful. And he started to sing this song. It's sort of, they have these instruments in Finland. They don't look like this particularly, but the original one looked like the jawbone of a pike. And so everyone came to listen, and it was so soothing and so wonderful and brought so many people together that people began to weep in joy, and even Väinämöinen started to weep, and it just brought sleep and peace to everyone in the land. And it's such a beautiful story about this. You know, how about when we run into something that we think is an obstacle, and then we have a struggle with that obstacle, but out of it comes this amazing, beautiful blessing. And that is the story that goes with this card. And so now we're going to pull out 3 Hebrunes today to see what further illumination of your situation we have here. And we're going to pull out 3 right from the middle of the bag here and just toss them down and see what order they show up in. Okay, we have the letter Ayin. We have the letter Pei. And we have the letter Het. And the way I'm going to read these today is, I'm going to pull them down so we can see that better. The way I'm going to read these today is the first letter is the letter that is the current situation. The second letter is the letter that is the challenge in our situation. And the third letter is the potential outcome or consequence of the situation. So looking at the Ayin, that's the current situation that we're in, and it is about being able to see. It's a letter that corresponds to the eye in the body, vision, being able to see clearly and also being watched over by the divine. It is the number 70 in Gematria, which is this ultimate manifestation of completion. 70 being the number that is 7 times 10. 7 being the number of days of creation, and 10 times that being this ultimate manifestation of completion. So with the Ayin, our current situation is about being able to see clearly, being able to see what's coming to an end and accept that, and to understand that we are being watched over by the divine, regardless of how things are looking in our lives. It also has to do with a foundation of laughter. So finding some joy in what we're seeing, maybe being amused by the foibles of life. It is corresponding to this current month, Tevet, and the constellation of Capricorn. So it's right now. This is the letter that corresponds to the moment that we are in time. It also is the letter that is affiliated with the tribe of Dan, who is the judge or judgment. And so in my understanding of the Hebrew letters, it corresponds to the tarot card Judgment. So it's about review, being able to see what has come before, maybe make some judgments about that. It's a rite of passage. It can also be about resurrection, using, for instance, in terms of the pike, this thing that was an obstacle in order to create something beautiful. So judging what it is that we have and how we can utilize the tools at hand to create something beautiful, and maybe laughing a little bit at our situation, thinking, oh no, we've run aground, we've got this horrible, oh no, we have a fish to fight. And then out of that comes this amazing, beautiful, gorgeous music that soothes and lulls not just us, but like everyone around us. So being able to use whatever comes out of our obstacles for beauty and good. So that is our current situation right now in the month of Tevet. As we're mired in the mud of Tevet. Tevet actually turns out it comes from an ancient word that means muddy time. So it's the muddy time of year, at least in the Hebrew lands, but here it's just icy and cold. It's getting pretty slushy and muddy out there right now. So whether we're feeling mired right now in our situation, to be able to find and see through that mud, to find the beauty in our situation, see through with the light of the sun shining down upon us. And our challenge in this situation is the letter Pei. And the letter Pei is, it's a mouth. It's the mouth of the divine speaking the world into existence. So great, we've got the jawbone of a pike and we've got the mouth of the divine. How beautiful and amazing is that? That we have this spiral, labyrinthine shape that's allowing us to spiral deep in to see what is inside of us. How can we use our voices to create what we'd like to see in our world? That's our challenge right now, using the jawbone of the pike to create music, using our own mouths and our own blessings to create what we'd like to see in the world. How can we manifest that beauty in the world? Creating with our speech, creating with our voices. The letter Pe has to do with communication and creation. It is this binary function between grace and ugliness. So what we might see as beauty or ugliness in the world. And it has to do with the infinite. It corresponds to the number 80 in Gematria, and 80 is 8 times 10, 8 being the infinity symbol, and that idea of what can go on internally in a spiral forever and externally in a spiral forever. This, again, labyrinthine path that we are on. And it has to do with beauty. And where do we land on that ability to see beauty in our challenging situations, to be able to see that this jawbone of a pike, although it's, it was an obstacle and it was a fight that we had to go through, how could we then turn that into something beautiful? And I think that is the challenge right now, is to really face what it is we are struggling with and create something beautiful out of it. And out of that will come the letter Chet. And the letter Chet is the number 8. So it is back to this infinity symbol. We have this potential for the infinite. We have this, and the infinite, of course, is a symbol of the divine, of the source. So we have the Sowilo, which is the source, the sun, and we have the infinity here in the Chet, and we have the ultimate infinity, the 80, in the Pe. So we've got the source all over everything here in this reading. So our potential outcome or consequence is this idea of something infinite that can come out of it. And it can be something infinitely beautiful. It can be, so the letter Chet has to do with life. So the letter Chet begins the word Chai, which means life. And it also is the letter that begins the word Choshek, which is darkness. So it's somewhere, and again, darkness is part of life. So knowing that we have come through a dark time, and that we are now embracing life. We just come through the solstice, which is the darkest time of the year. It's a number 8, so it has to do with the 8 days of Hanukkah, the 8 days of, so 7 days of consecration, and then the 8th day of celebration, of dedication. So out of this situation where we have seen, or we are currently seeing, the mire and the muddiness and the obstacles, maybe being able to laugh at our situation, laughing through our mouths here with the Pe, and also seeing the beauty in something that might appear ugly initially, but then being able to use our voices and to see that we can speak our reality into existence and use the source to let it shine through, to make something beautiful out of something that might potentially have been frightening or ugly. And then we move into this space of the infinite again. We move into this place of life and darkness together, being able to merge those two and see the beauty in both of those things. The letter Chet also has to do with contracts and covenants. So maybe what will come out of this for you is some kind of contract and covenant that you can make with yourself, if no one else, and with the divine, with the source. Because we have the sun here. The sun is the thing that's just returning to us after the solstice. After this time of darkness, we've got the sun. And it does return every time. It does return every time so far. We have the light coming back to us. So reach deep down inside of yourself, into your solar plexus, and find the voice that you need to send blessing into the world. And for those of you who chose Sowilo today, that has been your reading. And if you liked my video, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you here next time. For those of you who chose Dagaz as your Nordic rune today, this is about the day or the dawn, the breakthrough, and an awakening, awareness, prosperity, and the power to change the self. It is a breakthrough rune. It's about, just things opening up, brightness shining through, a real breakthrough. And along with that, we have the Mookite Jasper. That is this beautiful, deep, dark red color. And so I'm going to set these up here on the left, and let us pull out a card to help illuminate what this reading is about. We're going to use our Kalevala Finnish Mythologica Finnica deck to pull out a card today for our reading. See who wants to arrive, and we'll talk about their story and how that fits in with your rune, and then we'll do some Hebrunes as well. Okay. Who have we got? Let's see if I can pronounce this. Edutainment. Edutainment. Let's take a look at what she's all about. So Edutainment is loosely affiliated with the Six of Swords. I don't know if you can hear that. I don't know what's going on with my candle, but something is breaking through. There's some kind of light going on and crackling happening in there. Okay. Edutainment is about premonitions, intuition, the messages of dreams, the presence of sudden changes, protection, receptive mind, supernatural communications, guidance, and foresight. So the Edutainment is this part of a person's soul that appears outside of themselves, and it arrives when a child is 3 days old. And sometimes it is so powerful in some people that it arrives before you when you are on your way to some place. It says that strong-willed people are believed to have powerful haltias, like a strong psyche that brings them luck and the ability to see their projects to success. These powerful haltia souls are used to explain abilities in significant people, such as shamans and sages. If a person has a weak will, it can be hardened or strengthened with spells, and people can lose their haltia or Edutainment through some traumatic experience, like if they become miserable and sickly or depressed. Eventually they can cut themselves off from things by losing their soul. And then the ancient Finns had different beliefs regarding omens. Some believed that the signs could manifest as sounds or visions or premonitions, and these omens are usually considered if something tragic is to come up. But they can also be positive, I think. I mean, you've got, so this Edutainment can be a omen of some kind that something significant is about to change. And it's urging you to stay vigilant and be aware of what's coming on. It's like a signpost telling you to be alert to things that may be coming. Pay attention to your dreams or hunches. So that's what this is about. And I find this interesting because it's about being able to see. And Dagaz is about being able to see as well. It's about that breakthrough, that ability to see things that have been there maybe all along, but you couldn't see them for some reason. And I love that the color of this card is so similar to this stone that we have here, the Mookite Jasper. So now let's pull out some Hebrunes and see what further clarity we can get about this whole situation here. I also love that on this card we have this person who's looking at a bee or some kind of insect that is flying, and that it is maybe an omen for them. Paying attention to all things that appear to you. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Toss those down. Okay. We have the letter Shin, the letter Bet, and the letter Aleph. I'm going to put these in a place where we can continue to see the card, maybe down here. Okay. So Shin is one of the mother letters, and so I'm going to read these letters like this. This is our current situation. This is the challenge in our situation, and this is the outcome or consequence given the current circumstances. So our letter Shin on the left here is our current situation, and it is representative of the fire. It's one of the mother letters of the creation element of fire. And you can see that it's got these like 3 flames licking up from the bottom here. It is said to be about spirit, indwelling presence of the Shekhinah, and it's about light, the sun and the moon and the stars. So it's really appropriate for Dagaz, because Dagaz is also about light and breakthrough in the sun. It can have to do with the idea of there's many words in Hebrew that begin with the Shin. There's, like I said, Shekhinah. The idea of return is shuva. There is the word change, which is shini, and wholeness, which is shalom. Those are all parts of the idea of Shin and the fire that comes with it. It has to do with all 4 elements. Fire, the wind, and the earth, and the water, which is like the wholeness of shalom. And it also corresponds to a magical bird in Hebrew mythology or commentary called the Ziz, which is sometimes seen as a phoenix, and it reincarnates through fire. I love that image of the Ziz, the fire bird. And it lives forever, is my understanding too, that the Ziz was one of the animals on the ark, and it didn't ask for anything from Noah, so it was given eternal life, which is a wonderful story. And so it reincarnates through fire. So it has this idea of teshuvah, of change and of a return. So I love that also the Shin showed up here when we had the fire just crackling, because it sounds like fire. It says shh, and the word for fire is aish. It kind of hisses like fire, the letter itself. And it corresponds to the head in the body, so it has to do with passion, maybe a passion that is a positive passion, love or fiery passion towards one's endeavors, but it could also have to do with anger. And so there is a dark side to it. I mean, Shin represents fire, but fire can be used to, cook a beautiful, wonderful meal or warm a home, but it could also be used to burn down a home or an entire forest or village. So it has these, all the different sides to it. In my understanding of the letter Shin and how it corresponds to the traditional tarot, it's related to the sun card, because it is that fire and it is the heat in the sky. And so having to do with Dagaz here, that breakthrough, that sun breaking through the clouds, and the sun returning after our solstice time of the dark of the year for us in this northern hemisphere. It really seems appropriate that is our current situation, that the sun is starting to come back, that we have that heat and that fire starting to appear, breaking through the darkness right now. So that's our current situation. And then our challenge here, we've got the letter Beit. And the letter Beit is a house or a home. And it has to do with structures, so it can have to do with buildings or like a place of worship or the place where you live. And I think of it in terms of the place where you live. Like, and that could be anywhere. That can be the world, like we live on this earth. And it can be your body, like that's your own temple. It is said that the body is a temple of the soul. So where is it you dwell? And this is the challenge right now. Beit is the binary foundation of life and death and transformation. So it's got this this really significant binary of where do you sit on that continuum between choosing life and choosing death. We, every day we've got to make that choice. Like, do we get up out of bed and do our stuff or not? And it's important to take care of our structure, our body, our planet, so that we can continue to live. And it corresponds to, it rules over the day of Shabbat in the week. And Shabbat is all about rest. So the word Shabbat is made up of two root words, shev and bait, means sit in the house. So at this time of year, when we're maybe cocooning a little bit and hibernating as much as we're able, it might be good to just listen to and take care of your body right now, and take care of that spirit that sits inside of you, that Edutainment, that is part of your soul, that needs rest, that needs being cared for, and really listen to it, really tune into what your body is telling you, because your body is smart and it will communicate with you. If you've ever been around somebody who just doesn't feel right, or you're drained by their energy, that's your body telling you maybe this isn't a healthy connection for you, and it's time to let that go or move away from this person. So a challenge right now may be, how are you listening to your body? How are you tuning into your body? How is it that you are caring for your body? Are you getting enough rest? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you nourishing your body with healthy food? In the Sefer Yetzirah, the letter Beit governs over the planet Saturn in the sky. And again, like I said, Shabbat in time, and the mouth in the body. So take care of how you speak. Take care of what goes into your mouth, both physically and what comes out of your mouth verbally. That's an important message here. It's connected, in my understanding of these things, to the matriarch Sarah. She was the wife of Abraham, and she was a person who made her home wherever she traveled, and she hosted guests in her tent. So when the Edutainment of a guest would show up, she would see them coming and rush to make them comfortable. So if Sarah is an important part of your practice, you may call her in right now as you work through the challenge of taking care of your home, taking care of your body. In my understanding of the correspondences with the tarot cards, with these Hebrunes, I see that it corresponds to the world. The world card, which is the place where we dwell. It's where we experience the beginning and the ending in life and death. So we have a choice to make every day. Will we live or will we not live? Will we live to our best ability? Will we care for our body? Will we care for our home? Meaning the home of our body, the home of our earth, the world itself. So that is our challenge right now. And the outcome, given the current circumstances, is the Aleph. And the Aleph is a delightful letter to have as a completion, as a consequence. It is the a letter that means oneness. It means connection with the divine. It has this, it's another one of the mother letters. So it is the mother letter that represents the creation element of air and breath, being able to breathe, the connection between heaven and earth. You can see that there's a yud above and a yud below, and then this vav between that says that we are connected to divinity as well as separate from it. So it has this binary idea of connection and separation. And it has to do with wealth and worth. In the Paleo Hebrew, it's connected to the cattle. Like, what do we tend in our life that is valuable? And I see it as about transformation. It's sort of a crossroads as well. It kind of looks a little bit like an X. So it has this crossroads idea where things come together, and the connection between divinity and humanity, and the space between heaven and earth. It is a balancing letter that sort of gives us that Goldilocks zone in which we can exist. The shin is in the sky where the sun is, and the mem, which is the other mother letter, is the water where we also can't exist. And the aleph gives us a space where we can live, the air, the atmosphere. So as an outcome letter, it is like finding one's space, one's place between heaven and earth, finding one's home between the sun and the planet. Is this connection and division between humanity and divinity. And it is the oneness. It's like the oneness of the divine. It is the number one, but the word aleph, which means one, also could be read Aleph, which means 1,000. So it has to do with this multiplicity of divinity as well as the unity of it. So the fact that all is one, and yet there are just a million facets of the divine in the world. Trillions of stars, but one universe. Trillions of atoms in one cell, and trillions of cells in one body. Yeah, and it has to do with this transformation, that there's something that's happening that brings you to the crossroads. And ideally, you will find your way by understanding the connection between heaven and earth and where you sit in it. Where's your home in this connection? Can you see it? Can you feel it in your body? Can you find yourself illuminated by the fire right now? And bring yourself into balance. And so with our daylight breaking through, we're hopeful that the fire will illuminate the way as we come through this dark time of year. We're now in a space where we can see the light starting to return. We're in the new month of Tevet, and we've got just the edge of the moon in the sky. So look to the lights in the sky. Look to the sun and the moon and the stars with the shin. Feel that passion welling up in your body. Take care of your body. Listen for the signs, and look for your inner knowing about who is safe to be around. What is the right thing to do right now? Take care of yourself. Take care of your body, your home, your earth, and that will bring us to balance. That will bring us to the understanding and the illumination of the oneness of all things. We will be able to see that that heaven and earth, although separate, are still made of the same stuff. That there is this multiplicity of amazing colors of all different kinds, textures and objects of different materials, and yet it's all one. It's all made out of divinity, and we'll return to divinity. And I hope that you can find your way and listen and retain that, make that choice to live. Make that choice to choose life today. For those of you who chose Dagaz as your rune today, I hope this was helpful and meaningful reading for you. And if you did like it, I hope you'll like the video and subscribe. And I will see you here next time.